Hello, I'm Scott Douglas, and welcome to the second episode of Tornado Spotlight. I'm here with the man that wears many caps around Brevard College, but he's here because he is the women's soccer coach, Juan Mascaro.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
So, you have many roles on campus.
I do.
So, if you could elaborate to me, I think I know them, but if you could clarify to me what your roles are here at Brevard College.
So it's mainly two roles. One role is the Vice President for Finance and Operations and the CFO. That's one role. And then the other role is the head women's soccer coach.
Wow. And then in that first role, how much stuff do you have to
So the areas that report to me are the finance office, IT, facilities, HR, athletics, and strategic planning.
Wow.
So it's a pretty big umbrella.
Which role came first, women's soccer coach or?
I came to Brevard 16 years ago as a happy soccer coach. That's all I was, a happy soccer coach. And I lasted with only one job at Brevard for 8 months. And after 8 months, I was given the title of assistant athletic director. Then after a year, associate athletic director. Then a couple of years later, I was the athletic director for 7 years and kept coaching.
Yeah.
So I've always had two roles. I've always had two jobs.
But then your other one just kept
I get bored too easily.
So you mentioned about how you came to Brevard as the women's soccer coach. So
As the men's soccer coach.
men's soccer coach.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I coached men's soccer from 2007 to 2016, 15. 15 maybe.
Okay. So we're gonna get back to that. So tell us about how you got to Brevard in the first place.
I was at Campbell University. I was the assistant women's soccer coach, and the AD at Brevard used to work at Campbell University. He was the AD there. So there was a connection. So I applied for the job. They called me in for an interview. I've never been to the western side of the state. So I said to my wife, hey, let's go check out the western side of the state. So we came, and 5 hours later, I'm like, God, I hope I get this job because this place is amazing. I mean, I remember I stayed at the guest house, and we dropped our bags and everything, and then I walked out and I saw a white squirrel. That's the first thing I saw, and I'm like, wow, this place is great. It's got white squirrels. Where can you go and find a white squirrel? So that was and it was a long day of interview process and all that, and that's the time where the school was transitioning from NAIA to Division II. So I was one of the first coaches that they brought in to transition to Division II, to the NCAA from NAIA.
So then did you have a major impact on Juan Mascaro Jr. coming here?
I did not. Actually, I was a coach, but I had to separate. I'm pretty good at separating things and not making one thing impact the other one. So I did not recruit him heavily. Gardner Webb recruited him probably heavier than I did. But a dear friend of mine who was the women's coach at the time, his name is Shug Shinohara. He was the one that recruited Junior on my behalf. So, and I've always said, go visit, and he visited a ton of schools. And then all I said was, why don't you just take a tour like a normal student would? Because he would be my kit man, because I didn't have an assistant at the time.
Right.
So I went a lot of time without having an assistant and being the AD and the coach and all that. So he would be my kit man and get everything ready since he was like, 10, 11 years old. So I said, why don't you look at Brevard from just as a college, not as the place where your dad works. And he did a tour and he liked it. And he decided to come here, I guess. Right. Yeah.
So for you, what's the major difference between coaching men's soccer and coaching women's soccer?
The main difference is, well, there are many differences,
Yeah.
but I think that the two that stand out the most is the speed of play. Obviously, that's one of them, the speed of play. And then the second one, I think, on the men's side, you're managing, because you're always managing people at the end of the day, right? But on the men's side, you're managing a little more egos. And on the women's side, you're managing a little bit more emotions. So those two things are a little different. I think for my personality, I think I'm suited a little bit better for the women's side. I can be, because I'm a little more laid back, so I can be a little bit more myself and be laid back.
Yeah. I noticed you're on the touchline. You're never up screaming as often.
No, those days are past. Those days were 20 years ago.
Yeah. So how long have you been coaching for?
I started coaching college in 1994.
1994.
At the University of Central Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That's a while ago.
Yeah.
28 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, a few years before I was born.
Yes,
yeah.
For sure.
And what's been one of your major highlights from your years of coaching?
So I am lucky, and I say this to every person, every player that we recruit, every prospective student that I recruit, I tell them this story. I am fortunate enough to be able to do this every single year. And my proudest moment of my coaching career is every graduation day. When I see all those kids walk through the stage and get their diplomas. Mm-hmm. That's the highlight. And I get to do it every year.
Yeah.
So I get to live that every year. Because every year, you have the kids that graduate, and some of them you're like, great. Some of them you're like, she made it,
Yeah.
So it's a proud moment. It's a proud moment. Now, as a coach, I would say probably the proudest thing that we've done is when I was at Central Florida, we went recruiting to Scandinavia quite a bit, and we had a few Finnish players on the team, and I was lucky enough to recruit a guy by the name of Heikki Riikonen. He was the top leading scorer in the nation for 4 years in a row.
Wow.
And he holds the record. He's the third highest scorer in NCAA history. Wow. With about 88 goals.
That's insane.
So that was pretty exciting. And then, I can't remember the year, but probably 97, 98, we beat the number one team in the country on TV. So that was, the game was on TV in the state of Florida.
Okay.
Right, and Sunshine Network, and we beat them on TV, so that was pretty cool.
Wow. So where did you remind me again where you started your coaching career?
At Central Florida.
Central Florida. How long was you there for?
I was there for about 8-9 years.
Mm-hmm. And then kind of what was your journey from?
And then I went to Missouri State for about a year, and then Campbell for 3 years, and then Brevard for 17 almost.
Wow. So you talked about talking to recruitments and things like that. But before we touch on that, your coaching style is very particular. I've seen you come out with formations that I never would have thought to play that game. Like when I play FIFA, those aren't formations that I'll look at. So kind of what, in those games where you know that you really need to hold on, you're going to take a lot of pressure. What's your thinking or your preparation going into those games?
Well, I think that you have to give your team a chance, right? And this is the hard part about coaching, and I think this is where the experience comes in. Younger coaches, that don't have the experience probably think that they can win every single game. And when you get into a little bit more, as the years go by, you kind of think, well, I got to give my team a chance, and the best chance that I can give my team is playing in a particular way against an opponent. I have a mental formula that I use for my players and my team and other teams. So you have work rate, you have IQ, you have skill, you have athleticism, you have grit, bravery, however you want to call it. Then how good of a teammate are you? So you add points to all those categories, right? And then your team might be at X, and then the team you play against might be better than you. So you have to put all your pieces together and give yourself a chance. And that's how that's how we approach the games. I mean, if we feel confident that it's an opponent that we can go and play head to head, then we do that. And we used to do it a lot, and we've been successful at doing it.
Yeah.
So it works. We've beaten on the men's side and on the women's side both. We've used this formula, and we've gotten results against teams that are highly ranked. And you have to know your limitations. I think that as a player, not only in soccer, I mean in life too, but to start specifically talking about soccer, I think that you need to know your limitations. As a player, if you know your limits and you know what you're not very good at, you will be a better player because you're not going to expose yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't, then so that's the logic behind it is let's not expose ourselves. And soccer is nothing but, if you break it down to the most simplest thing, soccer is nothing but a game of time and space.
Yeah.
So there's going to be space somewhere on the pitch. So where is the dangerous space? It's always behind you. So if you don't give the team spacing behind you, we're very hard to break down.
Yeah. So how do you play and manage with that? Because in order to do that, I've seen that a lot of the players will be playing in different positions than they're used to, or positions that they don't like, or some players will have to drop out because they don't fit that system. So how do you manage the players when situations like that come up?
I mean, they have to understand. They have to understand that the team comes first. I mean, the team is not, the team is not me. The team is not them. The team is not a single player. We talk a lot about, at the end of the day, when you look at the scoreboard, it says Brevard 1 and whoever team 0.
Yeah.
And that's what matters in the end, is what is best for the team. And I think that going back to the difference in coaching men and women, I think that when you explain it, they understand. They might not like it. They might, it is what it is. But they see that it works. We changed our system a long time ago when I was coaching the guys. And we were in a very defensive mode, and it was being successful. And I asked the guys, so what do you guys think? And they said, Coach, it's not pretty, but it works. So it's, if it works and it gives you a chance, I think that the kids understand and players understand, and they just have to go with it.
Yeah. You are the coach of one of the most tight-knitted groups on campus. I think the only team that is as together as women's soccer is probably volleyball. Maybe women's basketball. But women's soccer team is very close-knit together. And what is that like for you, being the coach, kind of coming into that group?
Well, I made the group. So basically, and that is part of the recruiting process is, you have certain criteria, and you need to, every time we bring our class in, we have to make sure that they fit, that they're good fits. So we're not willing, as a coaching staff, we're not willing to sacrifice fit for a great player. So I can be recruiting a great player, but if I don't believe that they're a good fit for the group, that player would not come to Brevard. because I believe that is key for us.
Yeah.
Having that tight knit group.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go through the recruiting process, we make sure we vet the kids. They visit and we spend a lot of time with them, and we get to know them, and they have to be good fits. That's how we make that happen, and it happens naturally. I mean, we don't have to tell them. They eat together, they go around together, they do everything together because they are similar in a sense. Because that's how we approach recruiting. Mm-hmm. And we're not willing as a coaching staff to like I said, to not do that for just to get a good player, because the group becomes more important. At the end, it's a team, right? Yeah.
And talking about groups of people that you've also had some of those players that you've recruited then become associate and volunteer assistant coaches. And what's that like, being able to coach them for almost 4 years or for full 4 years and then have them come onto the other side and help you?
Well, it's one of the things that I'm more proud about is it's mentoring people. Mm-hmm. I think that I think that everybody should have a mission statement, right? So I have my personal mission statement, and that's why I work in higher ed. So my mission statement is to help young men and women reach their potential in life. Mm-hmm. So I want everybody to be the best that they can be, and if I can help a little bit with that, that's why I'm standing here today, right? In the city. But it's one of those things that it makes you feel very proud. That they want to come back and they are invested in the program. I mean, I have former players that are still texting me during the game because they're watching the game. They're 3 years out, 4 years out, mm-hmm. and they're like watching our games still. So they're really invested. So when they stay and they get invested in the program, it's a phenomenal feeling, and it goes back years. I have one of the probably the most successful stories is I coach a kid at Campbell in 2005. So that's how many years ago? You do the math. And then I came to Brevard, and in 2008, 2007 or 8, the women's team was looking for an assistant, and I said, I have someone for you. She was a goalkeeper at Campbell. She's about to graduate. I think she'll be a great coach. So I talked to her and I said, hey, come to Brevard, be an assistant coach. And she goes, no, I don't think I can be a coach. Mm-hmm. And I said, yes, you can. You will be a coach. And she came. And now she's the head women's soccer coach at Villanova University.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Big East.
Yeah.
So I mean,
So stepping away from the soccer side of things and kind of to more the boring stuff with the admin and all that. Yeah. What's something that you are very proud of? Because you've been involved in a lot of stuff with that. There's also the gold shovel there. I was with you when you had that in your hand. So what's some stuff that's happened on the BC campus that's made you proud?
I think that what we've done over the last 5 years is I think it's amazing, and it's not a one person. I think it's a group. It's a group effort. It's a team effort. I think the whole campus, faculty, staff, administration. I think we've really turned the corner, and we work very hard on improving our facilities, and it shows. Yeah. People come here and they see it and they love the campus. So I think that all the improvements in facilities and where the college sits financially, I think it's a great place to be for a small private school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely since I've come here, there's been so much change, yes. And during unprecedented times too, which is quite impressive.
Yes.
And so what does a day-to-day operations look like for you in the midst of a season?
So that's an interesting question, because I try to keep my calendar as open as possible, because I never know. My wife asked me that question. So how's how's your day looking tomorrow? And I said, I don't know. Because you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. You can, anything can happen. But I try to touch every area. So I spend time in the finance office, then, check out facilities, IT and athletics, and just try to keep a pulse on how things are going. I have phenomenal people working with me as colleagues, and just supporting them and trying to see how we can help them. So days can get hectic.
Mm-hmm.
But what I love in season is that at 4:00 I have the excuse I gotta go coach. so that all stays behind, right? And then I gotta go coach, and that's the part that I enjoy the most about my day, for the most part. Most days.
Yeah, most days.
But you have days that are hectic. You have days that, you have days that when roof collapses, it's a hectic week or a hectic month. Construction. We've had a lot of construction in the last 24 months, and construction during COVID, and then the last 6 to 8 months, it's been really hard. It's been really hard. So making sure that all the projects come in budget and on time and all that, it's a lot of balls to jump.
Yeah. So going back to coaching a little bit more, you do this amazing thing at the beginning of every semester before the season starts that has caused a lot of waves across campus, and everyone has a bit of excitement about it. And it's the 12:01 a.m. fitness trip. So where did that come from? How did you get that?
Well, that started a while back. I didn't come up with it. It's called Midnight Madness.
Uh-huh.
So it started with basketball. It was a basketball thing back in the early 90s. But what it is the NCAA tells you can start practicing at this day, right? And then the day begins at 12:01, right? So that day is. So it was a few years ago that you said, I said, how can we make this more exciting? Because you gotta have fitness tests and all that.
Uh-huh.
You just gotta have them, just to see where they are and to hold them accountable and all stuff. But how do you make it exciting? And then the idea popped. Let's do a soccer midnight madness, and we tried it. And of course, the first, the kids come in, and I'm standing there in the first team meeting, and I say, put up the calendar, and it says 12:01, and somebody says, "Is there a typo?" And I said, "No, it's not a typo. We're going to 12:01." And at first they were not very happy with me. I'll be honest, they were not very happy with me. I got a lot of eye rolls and stuff. But after the session was over, they loved it, because I'm going, do you rather run a mile or whatever fitness test at midnight when it's like 70 degrees, or at 85 degrees at 4:00?
Yeah.
So, and now it's become a tradition, right? So now everybody's expecting it, and this year they dressed up, and it was great. It was great.
And what's it like having your son on the coaching team this year?
I think it's for me it's great, because not because he's my son, but it's somebody I can trust. Because of the other responsibilities, I put a lot of weight, and they have to do a lot of work. Recruiting is the most important work in coaching.
Yeah.
So he does a tremendous job doing that. He's a great coach. He's a great person. So if I would, put my hand out and don't see names, but knowing him, I would hire him in a heartbeat. So when I had the opportunity, I did.
He's a better coach at you too. If you guys want to have,
by far, he's the better coach.
Really?
Yes.
If you guys want to have the same skill players and the same mentality,
I think he's the better coach. But I think we're different.
Uh-huh.
He loves breaking things down.
Yeah.
I'm more of a big picture kind of guy. So we complement each other really well. So he loves breaking things down and showing players on film. You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. I'm more of the strategy. Okay, how are we going to play against this team? Are we going to use 5 in the back? Are we going to use the 4 in the back? How we're going to approach the game. So I think that is a great compliment. For us. I have when players come in and say, "Coach, in this situation, what do I go ask JJ." He'll tell you, go ask JJ. So I'm more of a big picture kind of guy when it comes to coaching.
So if you used to do 11v11, who would win that match? You or him? Trying to start a war here. In the 5
with the same players.
Same players.
Same players.
Yeah.
If we could do this, same players, 11v11, who would win the match? I think it would be a tie.
Oh, really?
I think it would be a tie. It would be a tie.
I can imagine that. Oh, thank you for joining us here on Tornado Spotlight. I've been Scott Douglas and this is Juan Mascaro. Thanks. It's been great getting to know you more.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. It was fun.
Surprised you didn't call me Scott.
I was going to go with Scott.